Welcome to America Speaks, the show where we discuss the burning political issues of the week. I'm Angelo, and to my right is Mr. Bottom Line, Gary. Welcome to the show. Well, Gary, turns out that turnabout is fair play in this week. I'm the one wearing the Yankee jersey this week.
I'm still represented by a Yankee hat.
Well, we've had a real crazy week this week politically, which leads us to the first subject for the week. There was a major oil spill in Louisiana this week, okay? And it's unprecedented, all right? The amount of oil being spilled into the Gulf, heading towards Louisiana, they're saying is bigger than the Exxon Valdez. All right, Gary, given that a couple of months ago, President Obama reversed his campaign pledge on no more drilling, what does this bode for the Obama administration now that they're faced with this disaster?
Well, it's a very complicated situation, Ange, and the problem is that you kind of need offshore drilling because you do want to limit your dependence on foreign oil. But, on the other hand, what this shows is that one mistake could be catastrophic. That whole southeastern seaboard now is going to be in danger, not only just this year, that the economic depression that comes behind this in that region is going to make Katrina look like a rainstorm. I
mean, I feel sorry for all these people in Louisiana. They just survived.
Well, remember,
Katrina.
It's not just going to be Louisiana.
Oh, no,
I understand there's a special concern for those in Louisiana, but it's not going to be Louisiana. It's going to be that whole Gulf Coast region that anyone who earns a living that has to do with any type of fish, shrimp down there, because you know what? They provide 25% of the... Now it's going to be a boom for the other shrimpers across the world, but I'm sure shrimp and fish prices will escalate, something else that we'll end up paying for. So we'll end up paying for the excess cost with the fish, and as we should, we're probably ending for, this is a bailout that I'm on board with. You're going to have to bail out that region economically, and I'm on board with that. But British Petroleum is at fault here, and again, I'm going to say also the government.
Well, it turns out British Petroleum didn't even have a plan for such a disaster like this. I mean, it's basically like going aboard the Titanic and nobody has an emergency drill to getting off the ship. Now, for all you cheap guys out there like me who are taking your dates out to Red Lobster, well, get ready to pay out the wazoo for your shrimp and your fish. You better go to Sammy's Fish Spots out in City Island.
Well, now another thing that comes with this is that, again, and I hate getting on the same theme, again, the government was complicit with British Petroleum.
Well,
for the first
this
few
administration
days,
or the past administration?
For the first few days of this disaster, when you probably had somewhat of a chance to try to contain this, the government officials took the word of British Petroleum on what was going on. How many times, Angela, have we said on this broadcast that a business is not going to be forthright, just like Toyota, just like Goldman Sachs? They are not going to be forthright in providing any information that hurts their business.
But that's valid. But just this morning, I was watching on the early show, and they had the Republican Senator, Vitter, from Louisiana. And he was saying that one of the problems is that federal law actually allows British Petroleum to call the shots and be responsible not only for the oil leak, but also for the cleanup. Now, as much as I find this distasteful, I'm going to agree with the Republican on this one. They should let British Petroleum work strictly with just knocking off the oil leak and let the federal government deal with the environmental problems with what's going to go on in the marshland.
But you know
what? I say
But you know what? That's one and the same. And the thing is that because if that oil leak isn't handled properly, which it wasn't, it's going to metamorphosize the problem, and that's what's happening. So I don't agree with the fact that British Petroleum should be responsible. I think the government, when an oil rig is that close to land, and we can see here it is just 6-7 days later, this oil is going to be on the coast. That the government, how your reaction time and how you immediately jump into something is important. The government let us down again, as they did with Toyota, as they did with Goldman Sachs and Wall Street. That the government is not does not consist of the best and the brightest. It is getting now to the point where we end up paying for it because we'll be paying for this years down the road as well as the people in the Gulf Coast.
See, again, and I'm gonna jump on the Republican Party for this and the conservative thought. This is what happens when you let policy be decided in a back room rather than public debate. Because a lot of these federal rules were written in back rooms with their Republican cohorts deciding policy. Now what happens is what in economics they call an externality. That means something that happens that's that a company does, like pollution or anything like that, has to be picked up by the general public. They have to pay for that. And I'm saying BP should not be let off the hook on this one.
No,
they should be given a huge bill for this one. If we got to clean up as the public, BP has got to share some of the cost. But now, be that as it may,
watch this, Angelo, and they will. Because you know what? Because from a public relations standpoint, they can't not. And the bottom line is they will pick up, what we call it, a symbolic piece of the bill.
I don't want to pick up symbolic line behind. This bill is
going to be 10 and 20 years out to pay, just like it was with Exxon Valdez, that the environment still hasn't come back, that people still losing, don't have the livelihood they should have, but they'll pay a token amount, and they'll be glad to pay a token amount of about maybe $100 million. You wouldn't say $200 million, but that's a token amount to them, much like the mining company about to pay out $90 million.
Right, but lives were lost. I mean, lost in the sauce of all this were 11 men who lost their lives on this. Okay, and they still don't know what the causes were that caused the explosion in the first place. Now, I have a huge problem as a progressive. Now, what does President Obama have to say now? Now it's no longer drill baby drill; it's spill baby spill.
Yeah, the bottom line is that they want to have oil rigs like this off the coast of New York and other places too. Those are some of the proposals, and I hate to say it, but after this spill, with all the many accidents that has happened in the mining industry, heaven forbid they build the nuclear plants they want to.
I was just thinking the same thing.
That I am all for. I'm sorry. Let's leave the risk over to Saudi Arabia and buy the oil from overseas. That's my opinion.
All right, and on that note, we'll take off for a short break. We'll be right back.